let me get started by saying that this project has gotten much bigger than intended and is just going out of control. And I absolutely love it. It's probably one of the most creative projects that I've done in Netlogo. So, what is it? Lots of buttons here, lots of reporters here. What's going on? Well, this is a RPG prototype maker. The idea is a lot of people come up with game ideas, whether it's board games or some sort of online or browser game, whatever it is. And you end up starting with paper and pen, and you're trying to figure out the combat system, you're trying to figure out your maps, and you're drawing and erasing and drawing and erasing. We don't need that anymore. Now with this Netlogo RPG prototype maker. So, I'm going to just go through the features. This is a demo. This is not one of my tutorials. I'm going to just rush through so you can see what this is, what this project is, where it's going. I'll talk a little bit more at the end about that, but I will hopefully have this out publicly somehow for people to download if you have Netlogo installed, which is free to install. So let's get started there. I'm going to begin by importing a map. Now, your map creation is all up here. So this is a default map just to give you an idea of what your map may look like. But let's say I want forest. I simply click on forest. I need more gold on my map. Just click on gold and draw some gold there. Mountains, throne, that's kind of games. There are some elements of this that are a little bit more specific to the game that I'm working on, but you are not limited to these types of terrains. In custom patch, you can write whatever you want the name of your patch to be. You click there, and you have all these different colors, and down here there's these increments, and the smaller the increment, the more of a spectrum you have for colors. So I had clicked sky previously. When I draw with that custom, it works just like the buttons already there do, and it saves it in a custom list so you can go back and be like, oh yeah, I called this one river. This way you don't have multiples of the same type. And the reason for that is if you right click and inspect a patch, I'm keeping track of that variable name, and it does the color. Well, I'm sorry, that's P label. It does the color, I think, automatically, but I am keeping track of what patch type you created, and that's for some of the later features that I'm intending to put in. You could clear your custom list at any point, and you can export your map as a PNG. So I'll just call this, didn't know I had cap locks on, demo map, and let me just pull this up here. Well, it'll disappear in a second actually, but I click demo map.png, okay, and now it is saved as a PNG in my folder. Can go ahead and share that with people if I want to. The pen drawing isn't working yet, that's alright. So there's a bunch of numbers here, and that's if you want to know really specifically what patch you're putting your piece on, or for whatever reasons. You could also change it to decimal points, and that still gives you an idea of what the grid layout is, but it's not as harsh on the eyes. And then you could also do no patch label type, but when you do that, you can't tell where you're drawing. So I like to use the period marks the most. Okay, so how do we get more units on our map? Let's say I'm happy with this map, even though it looks kind of weird with this river running here, but that's alright. You know what? Let me actually just put a little grass unit there. Nice. So I want a swordsman. I'm going to put my mouse on any one of these patches and then press S like a hotkey. It'll tell you the last unit that you spawned. Maybe I want to put some villagers on some gold there. This guy's rushing towards his gold, but hasn't gotten to it yet. If I want to move a unit, I just click, well, I can use the hotkey M, or I can click on the move unit button, and I'm just going to drag that unit. And it'll snap into place. It'll kind of center itself on the patch there, and also tell you how many patches you move that unit. 2 patches, 2 patches, 3 patches. That's right here in your movement count. I could kill off a unit manually. I could clear all units and just get rid of all of them. You can manually control your AP. So your max AP is when you end your turn, it'll just reset to your max AP when you come back to it, but you could also manually control your AP. Anything that has some sort of automation to it, which is to help the user, also has a manual override. And the reason is you are in the idea for this is that you're in the brainstorming phase of your project. So you don't want to take away the autonomy of the user or yourself, right? But you also don't want to have to type in 5 in AP every time it's your turn again. So what does the player's turn do? Well, besides resetting the AP, it's going to switch the unit spawn to player 2's units. So I'm going to hit end player 1's turn. It is now player 2's turn. The AP over here went back to the max AP. Now when I spawn a villager, it's orange. I chose those colors. Those are hard coded in. There's a lot of features that are on the interface, and I felt like the color one didn't make too big of a difference. And I believe even for color blindness, the blue and orange are supposed to be okay. If I got that wrong, someone let me know in the comments. I'll change that, or I'll just add a feature in here for people to choose their unit colors. So it doesn't just change the unit color, it also, there's a variable here called player number. So it says player 2 for orange units, and for blue units it'll say player 1 there. I have variables to keep track of like the patch type of each of these units. So we moved, oh, I killed off that villager that moved around a lot. That's okay. So let me just move this guy, villager, turtle number 4 onto a mountain, and then we'll drown him in the river there. Well, when I inspect it, you can see that he was first on the grass, then he was on a mountain, then he was on a river. And this will also kind of be for next feature, but just good for you. It's kind of like a data analytic tool. So when you export your map to save the world, you'll be able to look at each turtle's variables or your unit's variables, and you'll see how often each type of unit spent on which kind of patch, which I think could be helpful for your map creation process. And also thinking about, you know, bonus damage for your archers to be in mountains, or do your horses cross mountains, or is that something that they are not allowed to do? When I end player 2's turn, I'll automatically, the turn number will move up to the next turn number, right? It's turn 2. Both player 1 and player 2 had their turns. So, or round 2, I guess I can call that. And it goes back to player 1's turn. And this can also be overridden, so you can increase and decrease this. This is, again, is something game specific for me, so you don't even have to use these gold tools. But in my game, when a villager is occupying gold, they are mining. So if I put this villager back here, then, well, that's for player 2. So what I'll do is end player 2's turn, and you'll see that player 2 will earn 6 gold because there's a villager occupying some gold at the end of their turn. I get 6 gold that turn. Manually override it with these buttons here, right? So I'm just going to give player 1 a bunch of gold. There's an option here to have the spawning of units cost some amount of gold, and if you hit 0 and then try to spawn something that would cost gold, it just goes into the negatives. Again, I don't want people to get frustrated because it stopped them from doing something. You can clearly see how much gold you have left to spend. Yes, I could put a notification you spent or you don't have enough gold, and maybe I'll do that as a notification, but it won't prevent you from moving forward. So it's player one's turn, and they're gonna spawn a knight, which costs 5 gold, so we should have 6 left over. I didn't put spend gold on. There we go, now it's down to 6, so it's subtracted whatever that is. And these are parameters that you get to set yourself. How much gold do you want it to cost gold or not? Battle system. This is already getting longer than I thought it would, but let's get into the battle system real quick and drag this over here. A little notepad for you. The battle system. You have a few different dice that you can roll. You have a d20, a d6, and a d4. You can use any combination of these. It's whatever you want for your game. And you can clear all the rolls as well. So let us just say that it's player two's turn. They have an archer, and we'll put that archer here in the mountain. And they have some range of 2, right? It's still a pen and paper ordeal, right? You still need to have a notepad with you, and you need to have some rules set up. But this will help you to see if your rules are too strict or if they're even good rules. I've created games before where the rules sucked and the game was just dropped, right? And to try to prevent that dropping of the game in total, this tool is here to help you change rules if needed or come up with new rules. So we're going to roll a d20 for player 1, or yeah, you choose if you'll see in a second. So I'm going to roll 1 d20, and the attacker is turtle 7. Remember, even though I'm calling these units in Netlogo, they refer to as turtles, which is just synonymous with agent for agent-based modeling simulations, and that's what this program actually is. So their ID numbers are these black labels that each one of them has, and they're unique. Until you were to hit clear all units, even if I kill a unit, you can see that turtle 2, there is no turtle 2. That was that villager I killed earlier. When I spawned the next villager, it went to turtle 3. It'll never repeat until I hit clear all units, and that's when it overrides any of those ID numbers. So attacker is 7, defender is 1. I'm going to submit this first roll, a d20 that equals 15. I'll submit that to the attacker. Okay, we get some dialogue in the command center there. I'm going to clear the roll a d20. See, there's all things that you don't have to write down on paper anymore. And submit, oh, I typed in 20, I didn't mean to do that. I'm going to submit this roll to a defender. Nat 20, let's go. And I'm going to hit battle. And the attack failed. I'm using more like D&D rules here, so there is one hard rule that is written in, which you can change in the code if you want to, and that says the attack is only successful if their roll is greater than the defender's roll. If it is equal to or less than the defender's roll, the attack fails. So we are going to kind of force the attacker to win in this situation. So let's roll a d20 for the attacker, and the bonus damage I think is working. I haven't totally checked that out. So let's submit an 18 there, clear the rolls, and let's roll a d4 for the defender on that 1. Okay. So obviously the attacker should definitely beat the defender here, and the attack is successful. There's a little hotkey, well, it's not a hotkey, but there's a little button here to automatically kill the defender, and that will only work if the attack is successful. So if you want to kill that person anyway and the attack failed, you're going to have to use the kill unit button. So that is the demo for my RPG Maker. Yeah, I think we covered everything. I appreciate you watching. comment any features that you would like to see added. Right now, the next step is to create a simulation button where I'll code the rules, but the rules are the rules are created by you. So, for example, if you have a horse and you're moving that horse around the map and the horse never touches a mountain, the program will assume that horses can't go on mountains. If you use an archer and you give it an attack bonus only when it's in the mountains and nowhere else, it'll assume that archers in mountains get bonus damage and anywhere else they do not. So that's a huge project on the back end, but the idea is you manually move your units around and play with them for a while, and I'm gonna store all that data in a CSV file that will be accessible, like right in this folder that you'll have for everything, and you hit play sim, and I don't know how well it'll work. It's not going to be any kind of like heavy AI or anything like that. Oh, the last feature, sorry, is your export and import map. So export map saves world, which I'm not going to press because I don't want to overwrite my default for world. But let's say I like this map, and nope. Let's say I like this map. I can export it as any name, just map demo. I'm going to export the map, and it saves the entire world state, all the variables, where the patches are. It saves that into my map demo.csv, and I can import any of the maps that are in that folder. There you go. So you could, do trial and error with a bunch of different maps and save that data and do with it what you will. Alright, thank you for watching.